Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
I can honestly understand why it's over. I can go through the motions.
Jake and Ben. Dan and Shay again.
See, this is a
isn't
little
country.
More, it's a little more twangy than the other song.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. I want to remind you about the Hercules Hero of the Week. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union. By the way, Sarah started the show so mean today. And by playing a drop I hate. Jeremy weighs in. He says, thank you to Sarah for that incredible introduction to the show. Haven't LOL'd out loud like that in my office since hearing about Jake's golf course debacle, driving his car on the fifth green, trying to find the exit. Thank you, Jeremy, for not only bringing up one embarrassing moment in my life, but two.
He means this drop?
Spring breaks for
The
getting
color.
out, stretching your legs.
Nope. Whoa.
That's not it. It's not it. Not it at all.
I got to tell you, the warm weather out there.
Not it at all.
Getting ready for spring break myself.
I like Ben's reaction. He's like, whoa.
Well, Jake is a modest is hottest type of guy. You're pretty reserved.
I'm pretty...
Yeah, you're not like a locker room talk guy, as they say, as the fellas say. Neither am I.
No.
We're not like...
No.
I have no idea. Other than you love your wife, I have no idea what your marriage or
into.
anything is
Yeah.
like. I have no idea.
Right.
So I like that you cut loose there for a minute.
There's also this one that's really funny.
Okay.
No, we
I don't
don't
know
have...
what's your point.
The problem with CONCACAF...
Yeah, CONCACAF. Was that on this? Was that on this station?
Yeah, I think you were out.
I must have
and
been.
PK was covering.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Nice.
So it's so nice to
CONCACAF.
relive those things over and over again. I'm glad that we can entertain people like Jeremy out there with my embarrassing moments.
There's more, but I'll stop
Can
there.
we play Ben's?
Is
Do we
there
have to
one?
play all mine?
Do we have one of mine?
Can we
Ben
play
doesn't
any
have
of...
like anything, like any weird slip-ups, but he says some weird stuff. Like,
Say more weird things. I know I can't be around it. If I'm around it, I can't stop myself. If I have one, I'm going to have 30. I'm going to black out, and you're going to have to bail me out of prison. By the way, I'm going through that right now. That was a candy take. I have a real bad sweet tooth.
or there's this one.
I do the same thing when I'm in heels. Haven't worn heels, but yeah, I have a candy thing. I have a real bad sweet tooth, so I've had to do it. I've cut out candy for the last week and a half. So if I've been grumpy, I apologize. I would like to think some of our listeners also huff gas.
Well, most of your takes seem like you're huffing
You get a
gas.
broad enough demographic, and you're gonna get a little bit of everybody.
The gas huffers of
Yeah,
the world.
there are people.
They're a demographic.
I'm never cease to be surprised by what people can get themselves into.
People ask, "Oh, Ben, you have a radio show. Is it popular? Do people listen?" Oh, we're big with the gas huffers.
Gas huffers.
Gas huffers
Where we-
love us. Did
that's
you
who we
know?
target.
Did you know that Nielsen tracks that sort of thing?
How much less interesting are the Utah Jazz without Taylor Hendricks for the next week? At least the next week.
I mean, how interesting are they with him?
I
no
mean,
offense to him, but
no, I
like,
think it's what a lot of Jazz fans are watching right now, though. I think a lot of fans
As
are
the
tuning
young
in to
players
see
develop. Yeah, I got
Keontae and Taylor, and then Bryce as well. I don't want to short Bryce here, but you have a lot more invested in Taylor Hendricks as the number 9 overall pick, who has such a unique skill set going forward that, you know, Bryce could be a player. Bryce could be an NBA player. I don't know if what he does is necessarily unique on this roster. And that's one of the issues for Bryce Sensabaugh. The Jazz don't need a guy to go out there and take 15 shots. Bryce Sensabaugh would probably love nothing more than to go out there and take 15 shots. In fact, he got a little spark of it in the last game and thought, I'll go behind the back and take a step back three or step back mid-range jumper. And he made it, which is great, but I can't imagine the Jazz wanting to see anything less than that because they just don't need that. They have guys who take a lot of step back mid-range jump shots. You could throw Talen Horton-Tucker out there for 30 minutes a game.
I guess that's where my take is coming from, Ben. Let me put it this way. Like, how often do you go down to the driving range to watch people practice golf? Does that happen a lot for you?
Yeah, I don't do it.
Because watching people practice anything is boring.
Yeah.
And so you're telling me that the most interesting thing going on with the Jazz is watching a young player practice? Well, the bar of interesting did not start very high.
Sure.
And you know what? I like the Jazz, the organization is going to sell what they got. I don't disagree with where they're at as a franchise. If the ultimate goal is to win a title, I mean, this is the stuff that you have to do to flip over franchises because this just in, Ben, people get older, including basketball players, and rosters are constantly evolving. So I certainly understand it. And if you're going to go out there and say, hey, come watch these young players play, okay, that's what you got to sell. But it's not interesting.
No, I'm not going to use the word interesting. One of the things that teams start doing in these last 20 games of the season is they start playing next year's roster today, right? The playoff teams aren't doing that. They're not playing next year's roster. But the Jazz are starting to focus on what next year's roster is going to look like more so than this year. And the really bad teams are really starting to do it. They will play all their young players. But the Jazz are with Taylor Hendricks and with Bryce Sensabaugh and certainly with Keontae George, though he's been playing all year. Those guys are going to be likely a bigger part of the roster next season than they have been this year. Certainly, I expect Taylor Hendricks to be. So I guess I'm curious about what do you think next year's roster is going to look like, and is it going to be interesting considering they're likely to add another top 10 pick? At least I will say one more rookie. I have no idea what the Jazz roster looks like. They have 3 first-round or 3 picks. One's going to be the 31st pick, one's going to be the 28th pick or something, and one's going to be top 10. They will likely have at least one more rookie on the team. Do you have any concept of what next year's roster is going to look like? I mean, it's going to be Lowry. It's going to be Keontae. It's going to be Taylor Hendricks. I have no idea about Bryce Sensabaugh. I suspect Walker Kessler's around, but I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know what confidence I have in what the team's going to look like.
No, I have no confidence in what the team's going to look like. I have no idea if those players you listed off are even going to be on the team.
Yeah, they might not be either.
There's at least a chance. I mean, you would have probably put Ochai on that list up until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's difficult to answer. And again, I don't think it's a particularly interesting sell to say, come. I mean, what the web.com golf tour that comes around here, I mean, that's their like slogan is come see the golfers of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's a decent draw, but it's not the PGA.
No, it's not.
So, yeah, I don't know. Come see the roster tomorrow. Well, you know what? You know why I would go to the game? Because it's going to be an NBA game. And it's still going to be competitive, and it's still going to be fun to watch. And we're going to still see 2, 3, 4 plays that make us go, hot dang! This is NBA basketball. That's the draw, I think. But, yeah, if you got to sell, I don't know. Some of these guys might be on the team next year. Come watch them play now.
Let's see, is this the worst game the Jazz have the rest of the season? Is this the, I'm sorry to not sell Jazz tickets here.
No, but the Bulls are uninteresting.
That's my job.
They're not a draw.
I'm trying to think of, if I had to buy tickets to one more Jazz game the rest of the season, home game, is this the worst one? All the road games are good. I've told you all the road games are going to be really interesting unless it's, the last game of the season and the Warriors aren't playing anybody. But still, it's the Warriors or it's the Clippers. Their worst road game remaining is the Sacramento Kings, and that's a playoff team. Maybe if you want to say, okay, the Houston Rockets, that might be a bad game. But, man, the rest of your home games after tonight, Boston, you want to see Boston? I think they're probably the odds-on favorite. I mean, they're definitely the odds-on favorite to win the title. I don't know if that means they're going to win it, but they are the odds-on favorite. The Hawks, you've got the return of Quinn Snyder. Timberwolves, you've got Rudy and Mike. Dallas, you've got Luka. San Antonio, you have Wembanyama. Houston, okay, maybe that game's uninteresting. Cavaliers, you have Donovan Mitchell. Denver, you have Jokic. Houston again. So it's either the 2 Houston games or this Bulls game are the 3 worst games on the Jazz schedule remaining this year.
All right.
Yeah, especially if the young players are hurt.
But none of those games are interesting because of the Jazz.
No, absolutely. The Jazz are selling Victor Wembanyama now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jazz are selling who's coming to town.
But that's how it is.
That is part of the league.
That's part of the league. I mean, if you're going to have to rebuild a roster, and I say have to because sometimes you have to. Now, the Jazz in this particular rendition picked their moment. At other times, it's been forced upon them. But sometimes you have to. And this is how it works. And congratulate the Jazz fans for still packing that building and enjoying some NBA basketball because not a lot to sell going on with the Jazz. You know, come watch Keontae George practice getting to his spots, which is extremely important for the future success of Keontae George. Not interesting.
It's not what most NBA fan bases value.
Now, if Keontae can do a cool alley-oop back to Colin Sexton off the backboard while he's at it, well, terrific. And that's the draw. That's why you go.
Yeah.
Because the NBA is still a show.
Yep.
It's still super athletes doing super crazy stuff that you can't see anywhere else.
It's the most elite athletes at their sport of any sport in the world doing things that are generally pretty fantastic every night.
Right.
There's a couple of moments every night that you cannot see in any other league anywhere else. They're just too athletic and they're too fast and they're too talented that you won't see it in EuroLeague. You can't find it in college. You're right. It offers the most elite aspect.
And maybe one of the best sports campaigns ever was the NBA is fantastic. I know you remember that, Ben, but the whole thing is the fans are right on top of the action.
Yeah.
They interact. They had a bunch of silly, footage of refs interacting with fans or coaches or players interacting with fans because the fans are right there. And then the rest of the campaign is Dominique Wilkins doing a windmill. Like you're going to be here for the most incredible things you've ever seen, and you're going to be right on top of it. And it still remains the NBA, I think, their best selling point when it comes to actual ticket sales and TV, for that matter.
It's extraordinarily intimate.
It's extremely intimate. You know players' faces.
Yeah.
And nowadays I could pick out Jordan Clarkson's tattoos. Like it's a thing. Yeah.
And in baseball, you can heckle a catcher, you can heckle a first baseman. Like you can stand there and yell at them. You can have a conversation with NBA players if you sit close enough. It's weird. I'm surprised at how many players do it, but they're human and they do.
And they do.
And Quinn Snyder, who's the least human person I've talked to in the NBA, who I've been around, he's talked about how he had conversations. He was asked one time if he's ever had any funny interactions, and someone was making fun of him for his vest. And he was talking to the guy about it. Like, you can apparently get into those conversations. I would warn you to be careful. Luka might get you kicked out of a game. Doncic, not Shamanich. But, yeah, you can get kicked out of a game, but you can have those types of intimate relationships.
And you know what's funny about the NBA is why do celebrities pick the NBA? Because you see them.
Because they can be seen.
Because you see them. I know that Mark Pope and his wife went to the Jazz game and sat next to Ryan Smith.
Yep.
At the last Jazz
game.
Spence
Eccles.
You see him. Mitt Romney with the 4 thing. Like, and then, of course, the Lakers are the ultimate example,
Denzel,
right? Or
Jack,
like, or like Spike Lee in New York or whatever it is. But they're there because you see it.
Yep.
They're a part of it.
And it helps. That's a benefit to the game.
Like, honestly, Taylor Swift being a big deal at the NFL, like, that's new for the NFL. And they have to have her in the suite.
Yeah.
And
that is funny that we made such a big deal out of Taylor Swift when it's like every NBA game, they would show Jack at every Lakers game.
Right.
They would show, what's the cowboy? Goldstein? What's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy.
Jimmy Goldstein.
Yeah, Jimmy Goldstein. Like, you recognize him. Super fan. He's
or
at all
Diane
the games.
Cannon or, all those legendary Laker fans. But, I mean, examples of it here. Like, the doctor and just passed, right? Or passed not that long ago.
Sick,
who was the rubber chicken during the foul shot or whatever. Like, everybody knew that guy.
Clipper Darrell.
Yeah, Clipper Darrell. I mean, it's really unique with the NBA. The relationship with the fan and the players. And that's why, what, Ben, you point out the volatility of that. And you're surprised that they do it. It's something that I hope we don't lose because of the volatility. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like players pushing back on fans because they're right there and fans behaving inappropriately towards players because they can. It is part of what makes NBA basketball great.
I'm pro fan behavior, but I like the idea that we can have an understanding that there is a playful nature to it and leeway to it. And if you sterilize it, it's going to be really boring.
It's going to take away a fun element of the game.
Don't over sanitize what relationships fans can have. And I'm not saying be abusive. I'm pro good fan behavior. Absolutely.
I think you can even cheer against a player. You know, I'm going to pick my language carefully because, chastise can mean so many things, right?
You can taunt a
but,
player.
you can, boo or say miss it or throw a rubber chicken into the air to get him to miss foul shots. I think everybody understands that people behave differently as fans at a game. You can see that down to junior high games where people are yelling and screaming and doing all that sort of thing. That's a part of what makes it fun. But when you establish a line, that automatically ruins it. But I think most people know what the line is, right?
Absolutely. Because there's 20,000 people at every game and there might be one troublemaker. Honestly, the overwhelming majority know how to do it. So I hope that they don't overreact to the one guy who's an idiot. And for the most part, they haven't. League's done a good job with that.
What about I'm thinking of a small town college atmosphere, maybe not unlike Utah State, where you get some signs and some stuff that crosses the line?
Sure.
Do you just laugh it off and say, ha ha, students, or should we make more of a big deal about that? And I'm not saying my example I'm thinking of, Brandon Davies, his first game back from suspension was a road game in Logan at Utah State. And you could imagine
the signs.
Yep. And not using even bad over the line words.
Sure.
But implying some inappropriate things.
Right.
Do we just laugh that off and say, silly students, yeah. Or is it Brandon Davies should never have to go through something like that?
It's certainly, that's a little more controversial. It's not as bad as the horns down thing that BYU got rid of. That's not a thing. Horns down is not a thing.
A great example.
There is a spectrum.
Yeah.
BYU blew that one. That was a mistake.
But the whole Big 12 blew that one. So that's
absolutely.
you know what? I'm not even the Big 12 created a rule that you can't do the horns down thing. They made it a big deal.
Well, that's idiotic. Whoever made that rule, which was Texas.
And then BYU wants to fit into the league, and so
I get it. Well, that was wrong.
We're not going to have the fan base that is making waves with this particular stupid rule. Yeah, but don't single out BYU, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yes, that is ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
That you're so sensitive that is going to be something that you say crosses the line. Actually does disservice to the cause, because when people lose sight of the fact what actually crosses the line.
Yes, exactly right.
Because I do think fans have a responsibility. I don't think you should have to behave like you would in your a church or whatever. But I think most people know where the line is.
And they make the game better. Fans make the game better. That's why Jazz games are still fun. If nobody was at games, nobody would go to games. But fans go to games because other fans go to games. That's a huge part of it.
What You Got Wednesdays coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. We want to remind you about the Utah Food Bank. 1 in 10 kids are facing hunger. 1 in 10 kids in Utah are facing hunger, but you can feed Utah by leaving a bag of non-perishable food donations on your doorstep by 9 a.m. on Saturday, March 16th. Help Utah Food Bank, Macy's Grocery, and Lynn's fight hunger statewide. Learn more at utahfoodbank.org/feed. Utah. Time for What You Got Wednesday, where Ben and I do 2 5-selection drafts on topics, 1 sports related, 1 not. Last week, Ben, did I win both last
I think you
week?
swept.
You won Best Vanquished Coaches.
Oh, I'll take that. I didn't think I was going to win that one. You were out to an early lead, if I remember
You're
correctly.
56-44.
Oh, close. Okay.
I think that's ludicrous. Far be it from me to disagree with our listeners, but I think they were way off. Best common courtesies, I won 75-25, which I think is appropriate because I do think I'm more courteous than
I
you.
agree with you on that.
Well, Ben's were a little niche too,
What were Ben's? I don't even remember.
like specific.
Yours were very car-driven.
I did have a lot of car in there.
Yeah.
But isn't that where most people are aggravated?
Sure, I think
and
you're right.
Really appreciate courtesy.
And I'm going to tell you the truth, I didn't even look at that aspect. So you were smart.
All right. What is today's sports topic? I have the first pick.
All right, we're doing top 5 best sports towns.
Again, I always ask this question, is there an obvious number one pick?
No.
Sarah,
I think there's 2 that come,
to mind?
2 or 3 that come to mind, but I don't know if there's just immediately one.
Okay.
I think the 2 I'm debating between, I don't like sports teams from either place.
And I'm just going to take whichever one of these you don't take.
I'll go with Boston.
Okay. I think that is the number one pick. I think that's absolutely the number one pick. I've never actually been to Boston.
I haven't either. But their fans all have reputations. Their teams are historic. They've been there forever. Boston.
Celtics, the greatest basketball franchise of all time.
And Red Sox fans are
Red
fairly
Sox,
notorious.
Patriots, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the
The
Bruins.
Bruins, yeah. I think it's the right choice. So I'm curious, I guess I'm going to go New York, obviously. I think that's number 1. Or number 2, or 1B, however you want to say it. But I'm going to go with New York. Knicks, Jets, Giants. Go down the line. Yankees.
I
Don't-
hate them all.
Don't skip
Yeah,
the
I don't
New
like,
York Yankees.
I don't like any of them.
Yeah.
All right, up next, Ben, I'm going to go with the most notoriously negative sports town and take Philadelphia.
That's good. I had them 5 on my board, but that's good.
I kind of would, they've got a reputation. Like that sports town has a rep. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like their media is tough.
Well, from a radio, the top 2 radio stations in town are both sports stations.
Yeah. No, it's a
That's true in Boston, too. by the way.
Jazz fans have experienced it with going after Ben Simmons and kind of the arguments with Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons. They're into it right now with Denver Nuggets fans. Like, it's pretty vitriolic. And it's vitriolic to other states, even with it is within itself. But it goes out, like, they hate Nikola Jokic because Jokic is better than Embiid. So, like, they hate Denver right now because Denver has realized what Philly has been unable to do in the NBA Finals. All right, I'll go with... I don't think this is a great sports town, but it has every sport, so I'm going to go with Los Angeles.
I think a notoriously bad sports town, actually.
but it has the Dodgers and it has the Lakers and the Clippers are a thing that exists.
But the Lakers are a thing for
Rams
like
just won a Super Bowl.
the like wrong reasons.
I agree with you. It's not my favorite take. It's not my favorite draft, but you kind of have to take it.
But like fans don't go to Laker games because they're like Celtics fans where they're passionate about the product. They go
I
there to
agree
be
with you.
seen,
I
you
agree.
know?
And you know what? If they were, I would have taken the LA number 1. But you're right, they don't. It
And
is
that
a
was-
event. It is not the sports
And that was
hardcore.
Jerry Buss's whole edge. He was like, we don't have anybody who lives here or cares about anything really, so we're going to make this into the most superficial thing in town.
Showbiz.
And that's why they're a thing.
Yep.
But okay, all right.
Yeah. It's not my favorite pick. I just felt like I had to take them because if you had gotten them also, it would have been tough for me.
I'm going to take my selection, and I don't know, this is probably too early for this, but it really is the market on the come, and it just hosted the Super Bowl.
Yep.
We talked about conference tournaments being down there. Their local fans are super passionate for UNLV and the Golden Knights. I'm going to go with Vegas.
At Vegas 4th on my board, just behind Los Angeles.
It's turning into maybe the best sports market. Well, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but like,
The only problem is it doesn't have a long history,
or a ton of people, but yeah.
but it is going to be where we think of American sports within 10 years. It's what we're going to think of.
And sports gambling is part of sports, and that's a thing.
They'll do the Summer Olympics there at some point, right? Like, it just can't be that far off.
Absolutely.
It can't be that far off.
100%.
So, all right, I'm going to go with. Now I think we're starting to get a little more niche. I'm going to go with a diehard sports town that doesn't have a lot of success. Give me Detroit. It's a cool sports town. Has all 4 major sports. Tigers are always terrible. Lions have been terrible. Pistons have been bad for 20 years now. But man, when they're good, people show up. Look at Lions fans right now. Red Wings are always relevant. Red Wings are, the great hockey franchise. So give me Detroit. I think it's a cool town. Cool sports town.
All right.
I believe in Detroit.
Man, I'm trying to think here. Man. All right, Ben, I'm going to do this. I feel like all mine are somewhat cliche, but I'm going to say Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's great.
Their fans are dedicated. The Steelers, obviously, but people forget that the Penguins are a really historic and
Yep.
well-run hockey franchise.
You do have 2 Pennsylvania teams. Good.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But you know
I
what?
think there's overlap there, but and Boston's kind of still in that. I don't know. I feel like I've got a lot of the same here, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is the most college town for a professional team. Does that
Okay,
make sense?
yeah.
Like the Steelers are the identity,
Yeah.
right, of that whole town.
Right.
It's just kind of what everyone thinks of. The way when I think of Boise, Idaho, I think of Boise State, or I think of some of these college towns. Pittsburgh seems to have that feel for me. So I think it's a good pick. I had them on my board as well. This is a city that probably shouldn't be in this group because they notoriously have lost a team, but I'm going to go with Seattle. I think Seattle's a cool sports town. I like the way that they've rallied around the Kraken. The Mariners are a very cool team, even though they've been bad for a long time. I think Seattle's a cool sports town. They're going to get an NBA team probably in the next decade. Go Vegas and Seattle. We get 2 teams in the West. Kick the Timberwolves to the Eastern Conference or something. Memphis. But I like Seattle. I think Seattle's a cool sports town. I wish they hadn't lost the Sonics.
Dallas.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I picked Dallas after we're done, but I'm going to go with Dallas. Cowboys, Rangers. I mean, right into
Mavericks.
TCU.
They've had success.
Yeah,
Won titles.
Dallas.
Stars. All right, I'll go Chicago. With the Bulls in town tonight.
2
got
baseball teams.
2
a football
baseball
team.
teams.
Yeah, I probably should have gone Chicago. We probably both. In Chicago, that's actually a steal as your last pick.
Yeah. I thought you were going to take Chicago.
Yeah, I should have. You know where I got pigeonholed though, Ben? Is I was thinking that the southeast part of the United States is a huge sports area, but seems to be unrepresented when it comes to sports towns. And maybe that's because college sports is so big down there. Like, do you take?
Sarah said Tampa, but I said that's just a lucky to be a live town. If you make it out,
You can't support a baseball team that poorly and be.
Correct.
But they've got the Bucks, they've got the Lightning.
They do.
They do have some college teams there.
Yeah, but see, Ben takes Detroit, and Detroit supports all the worst teams.
Yeah.
Tampa is good at baseball.
But no one thinks of
and
Tampa as a
nobody
sports
goes.
town. It's not what it's known
Like
for.
I thought about Miami, but honestly, do you take Knoxville? Because they're putting 100,000 fans in a stadium to see an average Tennessee football team. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think it would have gotten any votes. Nobody thinks of that. Alabama, Tuscaloosa. But does anybody think of that as a great sports town?
Tuscaloosa would have been my next pick. I know you haven't made your pick yet. That would have been my next pick. Because when I think of Tuscaloosa, I think of sports.
Do I have one more pick to go? I thought I was done. I have one more? Yeah, we're done. What are you talking about?
No, I'm sorry. I thought you had one more.
No.
You know what town is great low-key as well, even though it's 2 cities? The Twin Cities, Minnesota.
I was thinking
St.
San
Paul.
Francisco.
Yeah, I was going to
maybe.
say San Fran was my other one.
All right. I don't know. I think I lost that one. Next.
Do you want to recap?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay, Jake, you have 1 Boston, 2 Philadelphia, 3 Vegas, 4 Pittsburgh, and 5 Dallas. Ben, you have 1 New York, 2 Los Angeles, 3 Detroit, 4 Seattle, and 5 Chicago.
Okay.
I think
feel good about
Chicago's going to win it for you.
I
All
think
right,
so.
next.
Okay, for our non-sports, we're doing best Tommy Lee Jones movies.
it. Why? I love Tommy Lee Jones.
I've had this on the list of ideas for a long time, and I brought it up to Jake, and Jake was like, "That's funny, let's do it."
Okay.
Yes.
I'm always into actor drafts. So
I love Tommy Lee Jones.
do I. You and I have both said, or we had talked about how that's a little bit, if you were to cast PK today, maybe Tommy Lee, even though he's quite a bit older.
All right. Ben gets the first pick here.
Well, I'll ask the obvious. Is there a clear number one pick? I think there is.
Probably.
The Fugitive.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar for it, right? I think he won.
He did. Best
yeah.
supporting actor.
And he's awesome in it. He does drive that movie. As good as Harrison Ford is, that's a Tommy Lee Jones vehicle.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think that's probably the number one. Let's see. I'm going to go with No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, I was hoping you would skip over it.
No, I did not.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It's one of the best movies of the last 20 years.
It's not a quote-unquote Tommy Lee Jones movie, to your point, but it
might be my favorite role of his, though, even more than The
Yeah,
Fugitive.
and he's great.
He's so good in it. Such a good movie. All right, number 3, or for me, my second pick, Men in Black. It's a very funny Tommy Lee Jones role. He's good in it. He's a great counter to Will Smith. Men in Black's funny. That movie actually holds up very well. I like Men in Black.
I don't like Will Smith movies.
No, that's the problem. Is I'm not a Will Smith guy anymore. He's poisoned the well of himself for me. But Men in Black's funny, and Tommy Lee Jones again steals that role.
All right, my next pick is actually my favorite,
I know.
and so I'm not going to let you get it. I'm going with Cobb.
Oh, okay. Not where I was going.
Have you seen the movie Cobb?
I haven't seen Cobb.
It's great. Now, it's based on a book that might be largely fictional. I've actually read the book. Might be embellished a tad bit. But as a cranky old Ty Cobb, he's amazing.
Yeah. He doesn't miss. He's in bad movies. He doesn't miss when he's in those movies.
And I know which one you're going to pick now.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
all right.
I
Go ahead.
kind of wonder if I'm not going to. I've
right.
got 3 left on my board. I might be able to get all of them. I probably won't. I'm going to go with Lincoln, actually.
It's a great answer. Not what I was thinking of, but it's a great
I'm going to
answer.
go with Lincoln. He's low-key the hero of that movie.
Oh, he's great in it.
He's so good in it.
I like that movie's underrated.
Very good movie. A weird Spielberg movie that doesn't get a lot of credit.
It should get all of the credit. How interesting. The basis of that movie is the political wranglings that go into ending slavery.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows the Civil War ended slavery, which is true,
Kind
but
of true,
obviously there's a lot more nuance to it. And how did he get the votes and all that sort of thing? I find that stuff really
It's
fascinating.
a biopic that's focused on like a 6-month run, not somebody's entire
it's
life.
focused on like a week.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not even 6 months. It's like 1 week.
So I'll take it.
No, that's good. I thought you were going to take Lonesome Dove. Because I'm
Okay,
taking
it's a miniseries, but I'll let you take it.
Lonesome Dove. Is that all right?
Yeah, I'll let you take it. It's a miniseries, but Lonesome Dove rules. Have you read it?
Yes.
I might need to.
I've read it multiple
I told
times.
you I don't read 1,000-page books. I might need to read Lonesome
I've
Dove.
read both prequels and both sequels.
What's his name? He's not Gus. Gus is
No, he's not Augustus McCrae. No,
Yeah.
he's Woodrow Call.
yeah. That rules. If you haven't seen Lonesome Dove, it's a little 90s-y, but it's worth it.
Amazing. And the cast is incredible.
All right, I'm going to go with one that is actually a great Tommy Lee Jones role in a terrible movie, but he kills it in this movie.
I know which movie you're thinking.
Batman Forever.
Yeah, he is good in Batman Forever.
Batman
and that's a
Forever
terrible movie.
Stinks. That movie stinks, but he is so good as Two-Face.
He is good.
He's outlandish and wild and weird.
And like born to play that role.
Is so good as Two-Face in Batman Forever. Kind of an iconic role for such a bad movie.
I'm picking too much with my heart in this one, so I'm sure I'll lose. But this is my last one, Sarah. This is number 4 for me. Oh, I'll save this one then, because there's no way you're picking it. I'm gonna go with JFK.
That's what I was gonna pick.
He is so weird in JFK.
is. Clay Shaw.
It does not play. If we were talking about getting pigeonholed or typecast or whatever, if there is a typecast of Tommy Lee Jones, it's not that movie.
No. He's got some weird roles. I won't say the other weird role that's very weird that he does, but it's pretty popular. We can talk about it after. But yeah, you know what I like about him is he's willing to not just be the old crusty guy.
No.
Which he plays as well as anybody ever, but he steps out of it. Okay, this is a movie that nobody's ever seen. I love this movie, though. I would highly recommend it. It does have an R rating, so understand that. It's called The 3 Burials of Melquiades Estrada. It's so right up your alley, Jake.
Yeah.
So just put 3 burials. He's a rancher.
I was gonna say that's a long
Yeah,
name.
that's why nobody saw it. 'Cause it's such a good movie.
All
It's,
right.
He's a rancher. And has a friend that gets killed.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I'm going with The Client.
Okay.
I love Grisham. It's one of my guilty pleasures. And that's a particularly good Grisham movie, and he is good in it. But he's good in everything. That's the whole point of it. He's
Good in everything.
He's good in everything. That Batman Forever movie is the worst movie ever made. And he is fantastic.
Yep. Another weird movie that I like that he did. He's in Natural Born Killers, and
He
he's
is.
crazy in it.
He
you know
is.
what I mean? Because that whole movie's crazy.
I really don't like that movie.
Neither do I.
So I wasn't going to pick it.
But I like that he does something that is so bizarre, and it is a very bizarre movie. So, recap.
That, you know, like in life, we swing from one side to the other. Like we somehow don't like whatever we've become, and so we go completely the other side. I'll give you a sports example. Like when Utah moved off of Rick Majerus, they hired the complete opposite of Rick Majerus in
Bronco
every single
Mendenhall.
way.
Bronco Mendenhall
With-
was a reaction hire.
right.
He's
you know,
great.
But we all do it. Natural Born Killers was 100% Woody Harrelson being like, I'm not the lovable Woody character from Cheers.
Yes.
I've got to find some other way to shock people into thinking that that's not me.
Yes. Which is funny, kind of is who he is. He has kind of ended up playing these kind of funny, goofy, enjoyable.
It was probably good for his
guys.
career. I just don't like that movie.
No, he's more Woody than I think he is Natural Born Killers.
Oh, wait, very much.
Another good movie that I didn't draft. Double Jeopardy is a low-key good 90s crime thriller. That's like goofy.
the
and
Sean
not
Connery
great.
movie?
No, Double Jeopardy. It has Diane. Who's the woman from Unfaithful? Anyways.
Oh, Diane.
No, Ashley Judd. Excuse me.
Oh.
It's Ashley Judd. It's not Diane. It's Ashley Judd. It's fine. It's a popcorn movie. You can throw it on for an hour and a half and get your money's worth.
You know, Ashley Judd is my white whale, Ben.
What does that mean?
Utah played Kentucky in the NCAA tournament and lost to them. What year was that? Was that the Bogut year?
Okay, that Utah, Kentucky.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Not
You know how
98.
they lost to Kentucky like 5 times in a row or something like that? It was like the last time. It was like, I think it was Bogut. Anyway, I was a young producer at the time, and I selected Ashley Judd as the interview that I was going to get before that game. And I mean, I tracked down agents. I did everything I possibly could to get her to interview on the station before the game, and I failed. I was like, I'm going to be the star. I'm going to be the one who landed the Ashley Judd interview because she's a huge Kentucky basketball fan.
Close. You never got it.
Never got it.
Cats by 90, baby. That's
All
their
right.
hashtag.
Let's recap.
All right, Jake, you had 1, No Country for Old Men, 2, Cobb, 3, Lonesome Dove, 4, JFK, and 5, The Client. Ben, you had 1, Fugitive, 2, Men in Black, 3, Lincoln, 4, Batman Forever, and 5, 3 Burials.
I think The Fugitive's going to win this for you.
I think so too. But I like every movie on your list, even though I haven't seen Cobb.
You'd like it. It's good.
Yeah, and you'll like Three Burials because
It's
it's just Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, man. Jason suggested this one. And you know what, Jason? And Larry suggested this. And I'm mad that I did not pick it. Space Cowboys. Because I love that movie.
Find a Tommy Lee Jones movie that's not good.
Space Cowboys is great. Lighthearted. Good message. Clint Eastwood. What is it? Clint Eastwood, James Garner, Tommy Lee Jones, and Donald Sutherland. God, that's a great movie for 6 Degrees of
Yeah.
separate Kevin Bacon or whatever. All right, stay tuned. Wrap up the show next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben wrapping it up. On a Wednesday, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We have a little breaking news, and then Sarah has a tweet for us, apparently.
Okay.
Ben, the breaking news?
Keontae George officially out tonight, so the Jazz are extraordinarily shorthanded. No Walker Kessler, no Lowry Markkanen, no Keontae George, no Taylor Hendricks, which is 3 of their 4 starters and 4 of their top 6 players.
You know who we're going to see a lot of tonight?
GHD.
Hot dog!
Mr. Hot Dog himself.
Hot dog!
I'll be curious if we see Jason Preston, the Stars kid that a lot of Jazz fans are clamoring for.
Bill S. Preston's cousin?
Yeah, probably.
Well, Bill S. Preston is a fictional character.
Yeah. Jason Preston might as well be.
All right, now we have a tweet.
Yes, this came in earlier, but I've been hanging on to it. GD Ute fan tweeted at us saying, hilarious stuff in response to all of the drops we played earlier. But tell us about Matt Harpring's back injury, Ben or Jake. Do we need you to tell us about it? I think we do.
Matt Harpring will not travel with the team and had his MRI revealed degeneration of a joint in his spine and a slightly bulging disc in his back.
Is your voice high there because of the quality of the audio, or were you just younger?
I was just younger.
Just younger.
That was something I had to work on when I got into business.
You were a little pitchy.
I was told that I need to bring the voice down a little bit,
The octave down.
which is something you can do, believe it or not.
Yeah, you can. Well, one of the things is slow down. And the first thing you do,
Yeah.
and I still do it pretty poorly, but everyone when they first get on the radio talks really fast.
Really fast,
when you-
especially for a sports update.
In
Yeah.
fact, I was on a different station, my very first station I was on, and I was doing my first show, very first time. It may have even been an interview. And shout out, Scott Gerard texted me and said, slow down. And I've always thought about it. A little piece of advice that
Slow down.
he just said, just slow down a little bit. He said, you're saying good stuff, just talk slower. And yeah, then you're not talking like this. Drop it a little. And people can hear what you're saying.
Do you
That helps, too.
realize that I did not dump that either, and I could have? I learned a lesson that day. Like, don't just think, when you can do something about it, do something about it.
But
I was like, oh, I bet nobody will notice. And then I look over at the phone lines and it just goes with people like lining up to laugh at me. Not get on the show, but just be like, hey, you moron.
this was just a sports update?
Yeah.
You were producing for...
I think it was the afternoon or something at the time. I don't even remember what show it's on, honestly. But yeah, that was a sports update.
I kind of miss sports updates, if I'm going to tell you the truth.
I don't think I was good at sports updates, so I don't.
Most people aren't, but it's a good chance to get some reps.
All right, stay tuned. Hans and Scotty G are coming up next. We'll talk
Thanks,
to you tomorrow.
Sarah.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.